So folks, with all the OpenAI drama last week, a lot of announcements went under the radar. So let's break down what you might have missed because there are some pretty interesting things you should know. One of the biggest updates was Google's significant upgrade to Gemini 1.5 Pro, and this got completely overshadowed. But trust me, it is worth paying attention to because Google rolled out Gemini 1.5 Pro 002 and Gemini 1.5 Flash 002. Basically, the next iterations of their existing models. It might sound confusing with all the numbers, but the main takeaway is that Gemini is now getting regular updates, just like our beloved ChatGPT. Now, here's the wild part. If you're using Gemini day to day, the new benchmarks show that Gemini 1.5 Flash now performs almost at the level of the previous Gemini Pro. For those unfamiliar, Gemini 1.5 Flash is a faster, lightweight version of the original, and pretty much it's designed to get things done more efficiently. And it's out there proving itself. On MMLU Pro, it's only 2% behind Gemini Pro. On coding benchmarks, it's a 3% gap. In math, it's actually outperforming, and in reasoning, it's even better. Essentially, this upgraded Gemini 1.5 Flash beats the old Pro model at a fraction of the cost, and this is simply a game changer for developers as well for daily users. So if you've been using Gemini 1.5 Pro, ostensibly this upgrade means reduced costs for the same top-tier performance. Models are getting cheaper and better, and that's a win for everyone. And let's not forget, folks, the new Gemini 1.5 Pro is now catching up to OpenAI. On the MMLU Pro, it's hitting 75%, a solid improvement. On the natural to code coding benchmark, it's up to 85%. And if you thought Google's model couldn't handle math, well, think again. They're now at 86.5%. For reasoning and GPQA, they've reached 59.1%. These numbers really do speak for themselves. I mean, Google's pushing the envelope, and they're proving that they're stepping up their game. Then, folks, the long context evaluations have climbed up to 82%, and this just goes to show Google's impressive progress. But that's not all, because Sundar Pichai, CEO of Google, is scaling up their computer infrastructure, working on 1 gigawatt data centers, and even exploring small modular nuclear reactors to power them. In short, folks, if you haven't already realized it, compute power will be the currency of the future. Now, folks, let's check this out because it's kind of rare to find clips of Sundar speaking.
The short term, it is challenging. In the medium to long term, I'm optimistic because I think it's also bringing a lot of capital investment to developing new sources of energy. Right? We invested very early in wind and solar because we saw the opportunity there. And today, many of our biggest data centers operate at around 90% carbon-free basis. Sure. Right? And we recently, in our Nevada data center, we are running it now with using geothermal, right? And so we brought a new source, and we want others to do that too. I see the amount of money going into SMRs, this small modular reactors for nuclear energy. And so when I look at the capital and the innovation going in, I'm optimistic in the medium to long term.
Now, guys, it's not just Google building massive data centers for AGI and superintelligence, because OpenAI is stepping up too, and they recently pitched an unprecedented data center build-out to the White House. Get this, they're proposing data centers as large as 5 gigawatt, which is 5 times what Google is demanding. And I've got a funny bit about this in a moment. After meeting at the White House with OpenAI CEO Sam Altman and other tech leaders, they shared a document outlining the economic and national security benefits of building these 5 gigawatt data centers across various US states. To put this in perspective, 5 gigawatts is about the same as 5 nuclear reactors, or enough to power 3 million homes. That is wild. But it's a positive move too, boosting jobs, GDP, and helping the US maintain its lead in AI development. Sam Altman has been vocal about how crucial compute will be in the future, which is why companies building out this infrastructure now are setting themselves up for massive benefits. OpenAI is actively working on strengthening US AI infrastructure because they see it as vital for keeping America at the forefront of global innovation and boosting the country's reindustrialization. I guess this kind of preparation is essential because many people underestimate just how much power AI consumes. Sure, right now, AI seems everywhere, 300 million users on ChatGPT each month, but looking ahead, billions will demand AI, and without the right infrastructure, companies risk falling behind. That's why this build-out is happening, and while AI feels widespread now, we're still in the early days. In 2 or 3 years, with the emergence of AI agents and other advancements, the capabilities will become even clearer, and basically, being ready for that demand is key. Now, here's another interesting piece. The cost of tokens is dropping, which ties into something else I wanted to highlight. But first, check this out. The New York Times got a scoop on OpenAI's recent funding round documents. Apparently, 350 million people used ChatGPT in August. They saw a massive surge in users after allowing anonymous logins. Here's the kicker. The subscription price is set to rise by $2 by the year's end, potentially making ChatGPT $22 a month. And by 2029, it could hit $44 a month. I think that's a trend we need to keep our eyes on, people. Honestly, I've always felt that ChatGPT is quite cheap for what it offers. And, when you're running a business, a YouTube channel, or pretty much anything, having a tool to bounce ideas off is invaluable. But I think this aspect is really underestimated. And for most people, though, they might not see the value of ChatGPT. That said, OpenAI has hinted that future models like Orion or O1 Preview could get significantly more expensive. We're not talking about $2,000 a month, but prices are likely to go up. My guess is that they'll introduce a system where they can add features like Sora, advanced image models, or the most cutting-edge reasoning models, or they might even include AI agents as add-ons. We're probably looking at a bundled subscription around $50 to $60 a month, while individual services could be around $20 each. OpenAI has several specialized features that could be monetized separately, and there's a lot of potential profit in that. And speaking of profit, the cost of OpenAI's tokens is dropping significantly, folks, and this means they're set to become more profitable over time. Sure, people say the company is burning cash and losing money, but that's not unusual. Big names like Uber and Google also lost a lot of money in their early days. So while some might fear OpenAI's current management struggles, cash flow isn't really a concern here.
A really important concept to understand is that AI technology has been the greatest cost appreciating technology ever invented. When we launched our models, they were pretty expensive to use. They were $36 per 1 million token. Today, our models are basically, for our leading models, 25 cents. So we're almost getting to the point where AI is becoming free. This technology is depreciating so much that this will really change how you'll be able to apply AI no matter what you're doing. This creates whole powerful different examples. A quick way that we do it at OpenAI, we get thousands of people filling out forms every single day. These are really hard information for us to understand, like what information we should actually listen to and read to versus what we should ignore. Most people don't do these or add kind of text fields on forms because no one actually reads them. We're able to use actually natural language processing in our automation where it reads every single form, can actually call out things that are interesting for us that we know are going to be things that we want to talk about, grade every single response, and then automatically route that to the right person in the company for who we should talk about. So we completely automated every single way that we collect information coming into the company.
It's a real mover and shaker for designing state-of-the-art TPUs, CPUs, and data centers. Pretty much, AI has completely transformed microchip design. Back in 2019, AlphaChip was the first of its kind, using reinforcement learning to lay out computer chips, something that usually takes human engineers months to do. Fast forward to 2020, and AlphaChip started powering Google's next-gen TPUs, customer-designed AI accelerators optimized for training large models. And the best part? AlphaChip's code is open source, so the research community can tap into its potential. Then Google introduced Trillium, designed by AlphaChip, a state-of-the-art TPU crucial for building AI models. If this sounds a bit confusing, here's how Demis Hassabis explains it. It's a feedback loop. Alpha chip trains top-tier chip design models, which then create better AI chips. These new chips train even more advanced models, which design even better chips. And this cycle keeps improving their TPU stack, making each iteration faster. It's not quite recursive self-improvement, but it's close, a kind of slower version of it. And it's impressive to see Google pulling this off. They're definitely not to be underestimated. Oh, and we've also got some interesting predictions from Google's former CEO about what AI will look like in 2025. And have a listen to this.
Does what you wanted. It actually writes the code. And there's evidence that this, in my lifetime, will probably replace most programmers, which is bad news for programmers, but good news for the rest of you, because programmers are kind of obnoxious and expensive and all that stuff. Speaking as a computer scientist programmer. So those three, which I think are occurring this year, set up a very interesting set of questions. And I'm just going to assert that those three are going to occur. They're going to happen. You're going to use them. They're going to be powerful. You'll like them.
Pretty fascinating talk, if you ask me, because it really highlights some big questions. Right now, it's a tough time to be a programmer. There's this constant uncertainty. Should you stay in the industry, or is it time to pivot? It feels difficult because all the top leaders are out there saying that AI is going to replace you. Even Jensen Huang chimed in saying, AI won't replace you, but someone using AI will. And honestly, that's kind of true. But in some cases, it might not be as clear-cut as all that.
To anybody who's concerned about an AI taking their job, you should probably worry about someone who uses AI taking your job.
Yeah.
And so that reminds you to get going and to go learn this new tool.
Yeah.
And to make this new tool, your advantage. And surely as a company, we're going to do that.
Yeah.
And as a country, we should do that.
Lastly, folks, we've got Alibaba presenting Mimo, controllable character video synthesis with spatial decomposed modeling. In simpler terms, you can take an image and use it to replace any part of a video, and the results look impressively realistic. Now, I'm not entirely sure how this will be used, but I guess it could be pretty handy in certain scenarios. What's really cool is the novel 3D motion control. It's incredibly effective, and this kind of tech is quietly evolving in the background at various companies, and you might not hear much about it, but it's getting better with every update. Okay, folks, let me know in the comments what you think about this week's AI News Roundup. Leave a like and subscribe if you're so inclined. It would be immensely helpful. As always, everybody, see you in the next one, folks. You all take care.